And then I started working on it and then I didn't like it. So hello everybody and welcome to Crochet, a Canadian crochet podcast. I am your hostess, Claudia. I herald from the base of the Rocky Mountains in southern Alberta, Canada, and I love to crochet. Thank you so much for joining me today. All right, we have a good podcast this week finally, because I know I've been feeling like maybe I should stop doing this because I'm not doing a very good job. But I got a lot more stuff that I've worked on and we're going to get right into it. So what I'm going to do is start with things I've finished, because finished is my favorite F word. All right, one of the finished items I am actually wearing is this lovely thing. So one thing I will say, I have to close this up a little bit higher here because I want it to be like that. It's a little bit open, too open there. But this is called I just have my notes in front of me so that I can keep track of what's going on. It's called the Wraparound Thumb Holes Shrug. So I found this pattern on Ravelry and I made it. And I like how it turned out, other than I didn't sew the armholes up quite enough for myself, but that is not a fault of the pattern. That is just me being lazy. I was like, oh, this is enough. So I did mine a little bit differently than the pattern called for, just because I really like how I prefer how this looks. And it's not that the one in the pattern looks bad or anything like that. It's just, I just like that. So what I did was this is all alternating front post and back post double crochet, because you don't work in the spiral round, you work back and forth like this. So one row is front post double crochet, the other one would be back post double crochet to keep it like that. Otherwise it gets these waves up that way instead. And it's on every single double crochet stitch around. So that's what I did. And then I transitioned to just regular double crochet once I was done the majority of the cuff part, and then it is every other stitch. It's kind of hard to see. I thought it would be easy with the purple and the white shirt, but it's not. So it's double crochet, chain, double crochet, and then you skip the stitch in before to get this part, which I am glad that the pattern actually called for that, because I am boiling right now. I am so hot wearing this. It's crazy. I can't even describe how hot I am. I'm gonna actually take it off once I'm done talking about it. But so you can wear it. This is the front way. This is the way that I prefer to wear it, because typically what I want is something extra on my arms. And this will be good for deep winter when we are in -35, because I do oftentimes find that my arms get colder than my trunk. I think it's just the way that my winter coat is made, and they always feel kind of flappy inside. I don't know, it's hard to describe. And I feel like this is a very first world Canadian problem. It's that my coat is too flappy in the arms. So this, I think, will be great with that, even if that's the only way that I wear it, because it will double up as a scarf as well. So you can wear it without the thumb holes. I mean, I just really like it because it helps keep everything in place. But let me take it off. I'm boiling. Oh goodness, I'm so hot in here. Oh, there we go. So I could also, if I wanted to have it even just my sleeves like that, is I could double up like that and then put the sleeves in so that it's tighter against my neck, or even just wear it like this as a super long scarf, because it's I want to say it's 2 meters long. It's roughly 2 meters long. I'll have to measure it again, but yeah, it's long. The yarn that I used for this was the Karen Skinny Cakes in Raspberry Ganache. So maybe you remember that from many episodes ago, but I had started something and then I had folded it up and left it and never touched it again, so I took it apart. And this is all that is left from, it's got cat hair all over it. The dogs, I don't know, it's really hot here. Again, for us, it's really hot. So my pets are shedding like crazy, and one of them is just stretched right out on the floor because he is so hot. But yeah, this is all that's left from one of those good size skinny cakes. So I have to measure it. I don't know how much or how many grams is left, but this was one single cake and this is the leftover. So you could do this with one skinny cake. And this is, I would say this is really good for size inclusivity. Because if you have a little bit of experience with crochet, so I made mine fairly narrow. I believe it's 35 centimeters across. But for anybody who has, you know, a longer torso or broader shoulders or a round shape across any part of their body, it would be very easy for you to simply add extra rows and create the desired effect that you would like. And then alternately, you could also add more rows in this body part here. Or, I mean, if you're feeling really sporting, you could do the math and figure out how to make this part bigger as well. Like, and I don't mean bigger around, like obviously, like I made this custom size to fit my arm. So like, obviously this is going to fit a very, very small number of people. But yeah, like it's very easy kind of basic shapes. And as long as you have some crocheting know-how, you could use the patterns as like a guideline for like how to accomplish the task, but it's really, really easy to make adjustable for your height. And again, like somebody who's really tall, like this simply wouldn't be enough. Like this is ever so slightly too long for me. I think I wish I would have stopped at about here and then started my sleeves, but I'm done when I'm done. So it's like, it's fine. It's not the end of the world. But yeah, so I highly recommend this if you're just looking for something easy that you don't really have to concentrate too hard on. And again, like I did this, I decided to do that. Otherwise, I believe the pattern called for regular double crochet, which again, if you're like, oh, like this is too narrow for my arms, just add some more stitches and it will totally work out. And then you just have to make sure that you add the same amount here and then here to get the ratio right. So yeah, so like if, for example, if you added 5 stitches to here, you would just make sure that you were 5 more than whatever it called for here and 5 more than whatever it calls for here. Or if you just wanted something that's really big, then you could work on the increasing section, which is what I did is right here, was put all my increases into the upper sleeve part before we got here, just in the regular double crochet. So all this is where I have my increases to get it larger. You could just do it at either like for a longer period of time doing increases, or you could just add more increases than it calls for it so that it broadens out a lot faster. So that is that. I love the color. This is supposed to be machine washable, dryable. Make sure it doesn't have any Velcro in with it. And I don't know what I'm gonna do with this little baby. I'm gonna save it for something because I have some stuff I actually wanna play around with. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. So that is one thing that I finished. This is really like unceremonious, just showing it to you in a big lump. It's hard to fold, so I've been taking to rolling it up and then I store it with my mittens. So then now as a consequence of that, it smells like mittens. Which mittens have a smell. There, we'll sort of put it thusly. It's a little awkward. Maybe I just am not smart enough to figure out how to make it nicely. There, we'll tuck it over there. Another thing that I have worked on, and now I've lost it because, you know, what is this podcast if I'm not like constantly losing and dropping stuff, right? So my daughter found it. My daughter asked me to make her a little bee, and amigurumi, I have said this many, many, many times, something I'm really scared of. Oh, it's cold. That's weird. I'm really scared of. I don't do it. So I don't actually know if this counts as amigurumi because this was using worsted weight yarn and he's like big. So I don't actually know the rules of amigurumi, but I would say if it's not amigurumi, it's amigurumi adjacent. I did not use a pattern for this. Essentially what I did was I made a tiny hat and I did all of this work with half double crochet. And the first row and second row I started out like typical, so I think I stitched 8 and then my next row was 16 and then the next, I have to do the math, 20? I can't remember. Maybe it's 22. So yeah, you do like your first round and then the second round is double whatever the first round is, and then it's like half, like double and minus half the next row. And then I just did normal, the same amount over and over. So in the half double crochet stitch that I did this for, which makes it all liney. So I'm sure like you can see the line there and there. It's harder with the darker. There, you can see it there and there. Anyway, so instead of taking it just in the top stitches of a regular half double crochet, because I found on the face especially that when I did that, when I was putting the doubles in, it made a kind of like a hole where I was doubling it up. But what I did was, so a half double crochet sort of has like three parts to the top almost. The reason that I typically use a half double crochet is to make ribbing, and then I will go into whatever like this guy is here, this part of the stitch, and then on the front it makes like a cute little braided thing when you crochet around like that. That part though, it doesn't lend itself to doubling or tripling sizes very well because it gets really like gappy. It's really good if you're just doing like a 1-to-1, like 1 stitch to 1 for ribbing. So that's why it's my go-to. It's quick, do a quick dirty, it's all good. So what I did with this is instead of doing that back one or the top 2, which would incorporate that back one, is I did the front post and then like that other secondary like sort of little post that you can also crochet into. I put my hook under, so the stitch lays like this with the 2 on top, and then it has the 3rd one kind of off to the side like this. So what I did is I took my hook, this is all very scientific by the way, me like demonstrating it this way for you. So I would take my hook, pretend here, we'll hook, and then I would put it instead of this way, which is traditionally how we would go, and then it would leave the bar like that. I would go under the bar and under the front loop like this and leave the back loop, which is how I got the, that's one thing I don't love is I have that back bar that made the bee ribbed, but that's what I did. And in doing that, I essentially was like on the back kind of like 3rd of the stitch, then it stopped the gapping. So it's possible I am doing this backwards and I should have done it the other way, but I'm not sure. This is a skill that I'm not sure that I'm going to engage in a whole lot because I don't know. It was really hard for me to do this. I don't know why. I just really struggled with it, but my daughter absolutely loves it. It's really cute. I didn't have any eyes or anything, so I just stitched a winky face on there. It's supposed to be a winky face. If one can put those cute little shiny eyeballs on after, I think I will do that because I don't love his face, but my daughter does, and he's smiling, so. But yes, and then she also really liked his wings, which I very much winged his wings, can you believe it? So I believe I did a chain of 6, and then at the top of the chain, I did, oh yeah, it's like how I learned to do leaves, I think is what I did. No, that's opposite what I did. I'm sorry, I just like was doing this one night while I was watching TV, so I really can't remember. Okay, first, yes, I chained 6. First time, then I did a single crochet, the half double crochet, second half double crochet, and then I did a double, and then in the very end stitch, which is like the 5th one from your start, I did it looks like 4 or 5 double crochets in the top to get that, and then double crochet, half double, single. I can't math quite right today, obviously. And then I went back and did roughly the same. And it turned out the little wings, they look like that. They're sort of spoony shape. Both of them are like that. I just wrote down very hastily using words what I did so I remember for the second one, and then I just sewed them in. So she likes that he can have, she calls that his sleepy wings, and then they go up like this. So the reason obviously that they go like this, that's not the right way that they should have gone, they should have been flat, is A, I didn't block them because she wanted it immediately, so I made it immediately. And then also it's probably a stitch or 2 too short on the outside, which is why it's cupping like that. But that being said, she likes that he can have uppy or downy wings, so that works for me. I am not selling these. This is not a pattern. This is not something I'm like getting my livelihood from. It was a, hey mommy, can you make me a bee? And I was like, sure, like why not, let's do it. So I did. That's the bee, isn't the yarn that I used for this. I don't even think I talked about this, sorry. Worsted weight yarn. It is Michael's Impeccable. The colors are Dusty Rose, and I want to say Wisteria, but that might be wrong. I have a Ravelry page for my bee friend that I have set up, and be able to find all that information. And then the wings, it's a little bit hard to tell, but they are purple. Very, very, very light purple. And again, maybe this one's Wisteria. I don't know. A lot of these were plant and flower names for these colors. So it's just the Michael's brand. Yeah, Impeccable solids, nothing fancy. Worsted weight, 100% acrylic. They're pretty soft. One thing I do find with this yarn though is that it doesn't wash that well. So I hope he doesn't need too much bathing. And the last thing that I am super stoked to show you guys is I have 1, Yeah, you know where this is going. 2 leg warmers, and they're both finished, and I've worn them, and I love them, and they're not itchy, and I kind of wish I had these for hiking, but these are great for yoga, and the tops are still turned over, but when I wear them, they go flat, so I don't care. I love these so much. They feel so good. This yarn is beautiful, that how it worked up, and even though like these are sisters, like they're the kind of sisters that you're like, oh, like you're twins, right? Like, look how these turned out. So they're so close to one another. Like I'm the kind of person, like I actually love if stuff doesn't match. So it's really kind of weird to me that I'm like, oh, these match and I love them. The yarn that I used for these, which I'm sure you're sick of hearing, but I absolutely love this yarn so much. And it's orange and purple. Oh, love it. This color palette is giving me life. This is the Pro Lana Mindvol. I think it says Alicante or Alicante. I don't know. It's Alicante sock wool. So I love this. It has, do I have the ball? Oh yeah, I'm playing around with the ball making something. So this, from both skeins, this is what I have got left over. It's almost a full skein. Like these each used, I'd say probably like 45% of the ball, even like at this size. So I'm super impressed. Like there's, and again, like I am new to socks. I am new to crocheting socks, and most sock patterns I find are for knitting. So knitting is like, oh, you know, it'll take this much yarn, this many grams, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, like I know that crocheting takes more, but I don't know how much more. And especially when it comes to things like this, I'm just like, well, and that's the reason I got 2 of these, was because I was like, well, I want to make sure that I have enough for 2 of something. And when the lady at the yarn store was like, oh yeah, one of them guarantees you a pair of socks, I was like, okay. And they're like very knitting based, which is totally fine. Like I get it. There's more knitters and crocheters. She's like, oh yeah, you'll definitely get a pair of socks. And I was like, okay. A pair of socks to me is like a regular tube sock style, and you'll get one of those. And I was like, okay, I know crochet is more than this, so I am going to get 2 balls just to make sure that I have enough. But yeah, like there is so much left. I didn't weigh these. I'll weigh what the leftovers is, because there's a ton left still. So this is, I don't know, the yarn is really interesting to me. So it has like the outer layer. Oh, it's got great, it's all fuzzy. I love it. But the inside is this like elastic cord stuff. It's really, like, it's really cool. Any of the other sock yarns I've had, granted I haven't had a ton, but like the Crochet sock yarn, for example, is just wool that's twisted together, right? And also the other stuff that I was using, of course I don't have any because I want it. The other stuff that I was using, the Perfect Pair from Michaels, is sort of like a cross between the Crochet and this other stuff. So, but yes, I am finally finished and I absolutely love them, and they still smell like camping, which I love. They smell like, oh my goodness, they smell so much like fireplace. Oh man, oh, I'd love it if we could get out with just one more time. Anyway, finished. Okay, so I feel pretty good about my finished items, considering I have had like nothing finished for, let's pretend like the entire summer was not the season of unfinished products or unfinished items, but let's be honest, I was. I'm a chronic starter and chronic frogger. I was saying this, that we should like have a Froggers Anonymous club on Ravelry, and it'll just be full of the group. I shouldn't say full. The group should have a bunch of people that are chronic froggers like myself, and like, you know, a few of my commenters that have admitted to me that they do this. But you know, you'll get a good way through a project, and then you're like, oh, I actually want to make something else, and you pull the whole thing out. Or, you know, you're like, oh, actually, I don't quite have enough yarn and I can't get enough, so you frog it. But yeah, Froggers Anonymous. Let me know if you would join something like that, and I can set up a group in Ravelry, because I think that would be really fun. Unless it already exists. If that already exists, please let me know where it is. I want to join that group, because I need motivation to not do that with so many of my projects. So today I'm drinking Maxwell House powdered cappuccino, which I know is probably like not good for you, but every once in a while I'm just like, you know what, I would love to have some of that. So that's what we got today. And yes, I always drink everything with straw. I don't know, I prefer it that way. Okay, things I am working on. Where do I start with? Where do I start? I have so many. No, I have like 3 things I'm working on right now that I can think of anyway. I could have other stuff that I've tucked away. I am working on, oh, this is something I've been super excited. So this has been in my Ravelry queue for probably 18 million years, hyperbole. And then I started working on it and then I didn't like it. So I'm like, okay, like I guess like technically I'm still utilizing their pattern-ish, but I'm making my own adjustments like I always do. So I started the Dreamcatcher cardigan. And I was doing the center portion, which is this really fun bohemian style mandala square. And, you know, it was going along. So I was going along and I was like, you know, like, it's okay. And then I started doing the body part and I was like, okay, this is not working itself out in the wash like I like it to. So I frogged the whole thing. Froggers Anonymous. My name is Claudia and I frog everything. So I found a different pattern for a different mandala square that I liked better. And the only thing though about it is it had some weird stitch guides. I will put all the information into the description box below about this, about all the components that I used to accomplish this, because some of it is a little bit weird. And also the instructions for this particular mandala were written in Russian or the Cyrillic alphabet, and I don't know any Cyrillic characters, so I had to sort of like mangle my way through it, but it was a very good approximation of what it's supposed to look like. So this is my cardigan square here. Actually, oh, if I hold it up like that, you can see it. Isn't it beautiful? So the instructions took us past this point, but I messed up something, and I'm not entirely sure what, because mathematically it worked out. It may actually have been at the point with these circles, but that's neither here nor there because it ended up working out. But so when I got to the point past the row with these, like this, where is it? Right here, this section here. There's supposed to be, I think, 2 more rows. Oh, that's right. It was a row after that. So there was supposed to be this really cool part to make the end piece where you cross. It's like a 6 treble crochet. So I wrap the yarn around my hook 6 times and like treble crochet. I don't even, what is that? It's like a double treble crochet, something like that. I don't actually know the mathematics, but it's 2 times 3. So wrapped it around 6, did that to the back. Then you chain 2, go straight down. Then you, I believe that was 4. Yep. And then the next one was 6 again, and you go back this way. So I'm going along doing this, and then I held it up and I was like, oh, for the love of all that is good and holy, that is awful. And so I messed it up. It's not the pattern, it's Claudia, 100% Claudia. So I was like, okay, you know what I'm gonna do, just because I want this to be a quick and dirty and just to get done and not fool around with this a whole bunch, I'm just gonna leave it. So I filled in the border. So the reason that you did like all of that stuff, oh, and double crochet and stuff like that. So the reason that you did that was to fill in. So it's kind of hard to see because it's a little bit small here. But this, so there's a loop here, and then the loop has little loops around it like that. So you were putting all that like cross stuff right here, like across this in the corner here. There we go. Across that to fill it in. I'm trying to see and talk to you at the same time. It's not going very well. Sorry. To fill it in and make it flat. So all I did instead was I did single crochet for the majority of it, and then I just extended it. And I think the biggest that I got was a treble crochet. Yes, right here. And then in these loops, because so this is like a granny stitch right here, and these below here, these are just what was it? It was 4 chains and a single crochet, and you skipped 3, 4, 3, sure, I don't know. I'll have to look at it again, but this was really pretty. It was like this. So I put I put 3 clusters granny stripe stitches in there, and then in between those I did not put any chains in there, just to start filling it out. And then I got to here. Oh yes, right here, sorry, at the top. That was the shortest part, because on top, not only did it have the little mini arches, but it arched because of this as well. So at the top of each one of, not at the each, I guess of every other one of these here that was the tallest. So that was single crochet. Yeah, so I did 3 single crochets in the top of the mini loop on top of the big loop up here to make it flat. And then the next row and the next bump and the one previous was half double crochet, double crochet, treble because there's one spot, and then I went back up, did single, chain, single around the loops, and then started her all over again for the, I was trying to, you know, to mirror image. So I did that to fill it out. And then I just did a double crochet, chain skip, one double crochet to do this. This is really boring, pretty standard, but I wanted to start squaring it up really well at that point because then I started on the body. So this is how far I've gotten. It goes, I have to stand up a little bit. So it goes like this so far. I need it about, I think, double this size. So I still have quite a ways to go. I have just started on my second ball of this. This is the Michael's Superwash Merino Cozy something or other in gray. I feel like these didn't have very fancy names because these were limited time, and I absolutely love this yarn. Again, gosh, everything is so bloody full of hair right now. I'm so sorry. I'm so, like, I don't even know what to do. I just live with it, honestly, and I pick it out as I go along. So I'm, yeah, working on that with that. I am using a oh my goodness, Claudia. I am using a 3mm hook. This is the boy style ones that you get from Walmart because I don't have a Susan Bates one. I have a 3.75mm hook somewhere, I don't know, but I wanted this to be a little bit tighter, especially while I was doing the mandala, just so I would have decent stitch definition, which I do, but it's still like, we still have good movement within the stitches. So it has worked out perfectly. I think that the yarn originally called for a 4mm hook, but I thought this would be better, and it's working out, and my hand isn't sore, and I like it, so I'm going to keep going with it. So the fundamental idea of this was the Dreamcatcher cardi, but obviously I have made some adjustments, especially in terms of that, but then I'm just going to keep going, and I guess the rest of it will be the Dreamcatcher cardigan and stuff like that. And over at Bella's Crocheted Gifts, I will link her proper channel up here so you can read. She made this pattern, but properly, because she's much better than I am about things like that, and I very much appreciate that, so thank you for doing it. She did make mention that at the sleeve portion, the instructions were the tiniest bit strange, so I'm going to go back and rewatch what she said about how she did her sleeves, because when she showed us the finished product, it looked fantastic, and she said it fit her, so I think that whatever she did worked out really well, and I want to do that too. So that is that. I have a ways to go before we're finished that, but I want this to be done before middle of October, I'd say, like just before my wedding anniversary, because I would like this to be my new office cardigan, because this is what I like for it. And I chose the gray color, because I have had this yarn sitting forever doing nothing. It's just been sitting. But this is one of those like beautiful neutral grays that goes with literally everything. So it's awesome. I also love this yarn. It was on sale at Michael's for $3, and I really didn't need any because I had so much, but if they still have some in your store and you're curious about Superwash Merino, pick it up. Pick it up. Just give it a try. Life-changing. The second thing that I am working on is, I'm just picking up my hook. So I am using, we're going teeny tiny here today. This is a 2.5mm boy style hook. This is one I am not going to change out. I don't think. I don't make myself or you any promises because we know how I am. I change my mind all the time. Yeah, I don't. It's a little bit hard to, I don't know if you can see. I feel like my lens is filthy. So the hook on this one, it kind of sticks up like this, just a tiny bit. And I don't want to fool around with pliers to squish it back down because I'm actually afraid of breaking it because it's so small. I can't find any wood ones that I like. Where's my wooden ones? These wooden ones, I'm pretty sure I have the smallest that it goes down to, which is a 4.5mm. Let me see. It's all like skin tone. There we go. So this is the smallest, which is quite a far cry from this guy. I wish I could find one that's smaller than this. That's the size, but we'll do what we can. I have a Susan Bates one in my shopping cart right now. I'm just waiting for the price to go down because while I purchased these ones for a whopping $3.99 each, the one I am looking at is 12 something. So I'm just going to wait because it's not an emergency. Anyway, or I guess I could move over to the Land of Clover because that's also the boy style. But I like whatever like this material is. Anyway, this is not a hook talk. I feel like every single podcast I get into devolves into a hook talk. Anyway, what I'm using, 2.5mm. This is the smallest hook that I have, I don't have any of those other like lacy weight ones because I'm like, you know what, that's not worth it for me. I know there's lots of people that love that. I'm not one of those people. I don't want to do that. This is the smallest I'm going to go for right now. I am using the leftover Pro Lana Mindful. These colors don't have names. I want to say this one was 945 or 948, something like that. It's purple and orange and turquoise, pink. It's really obviously like it's this same stuff. So those are the base colors. It just, this worked out really nicely stitch wise on here. Oh my gosh, I love these. I love them so much. Anyway, a couple of weeks ago, gosh, probably like 6 weeks, it was some time ago, I was making a cowl, and it was a mustard colored wool like from Michael's. I think it was Loops and Threads, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, and then I was working on it, and something happened, and I feel like the dogs got into it and pulled it out, and then the wool ended up getting to be a big mess, and I was like, you know what, like this needs some triage. So I frogged it all, Froggers Anonymous, and I put it back in a cake, and now I've just left it. So I do actually have plans for that and I'll talk about that in upcoming projects. And where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so I frogged it, and then I was like, oh, well, whatever. And then I was looking on Pinterest because I like to clean up my board. So I went through my creating board on Pinterest, and if there's a pattern on there that I've made, I link it in my Ravelry so that I can always find it a second time and go back to it and check it out. So I don't need to keep it on my Pinterest. And then that way I feel like I don't get like bogged down with stuff that I've already made. My boards, I know you're not supposed to do this, but this is just how I use my Pinterest, is that I always delete pins that I've done or used. Unless it's recipes, I always keep those, especially if it's ones that I really like, because I don't have another place that I keep those. Anyway, going through, doing my cleaning up, getting rid of flower pins, and then I see this cowl come up, and I was like, oh, that's right. So I decided to start it, and I've only started it, oh goodness, not that long ago. I'm like the second row in. So already I am not doing what they asked. The pattern calls for, oh help me, what does the pattern call for? Worsted weight yarn. It's in 3 colors, and this is definitely not the gauge that it's supposed to be. So I have done it by measurement. I did listen to the first few structural rows, but then I'm kind of doing it myself from there. And I am also going to be crocheting in the spiral round for the first part instead of back and forth. And then once I get to the second part, it will be back and forth. And it'll, as I am fond of saying, I say this to you guys all the time, it'll come out in the wash, right? And it's one of those things I can keep trying it on, and if it's weird, I can take it off and fix it. It's very easy, very easy. So it's a cowl with a hood. It's hood shaped. So it'll have the face opening like this, and the stitches go like that, sort of underneath, like the stitches, you work from the bottom up. So I guess I should go this way. So it makes a tube that goes around here, which is this part here. Duh. And then you get to the part where you leave it open for your face, and then you finish it at the top. It's not like, the way I'm making it sound is like it's pointy on top. It's not pointy on top. It just, like, it looks fine. Again, all of these things will be linked in the description box below, so you can check them out yourself, because I'm not very good at explaining, obviously. But yeah, so I'm using it as a guideline for that. So very, very small amount started, this much. I'm using this up. Hopefully this will use the last of it up. Otherwise, I don't know what I am going to do with the itty bitty bit that is left. I do have another ball of my Michael's sock yarn that I'm keeping, and I don't actually have any plans for what I'm going to do with it, but I have like bits of sock yarn kind of all over the place in little balls that are not enough for another sock or anything like that. So maybe I will end up just having like Franken socks at some point. That would be fun. Maybe I will just plan on doing that. Anyway, if you have any suggestions about what to do with just scrap sock yarn that you don't have enough to make one sock, let me know in the description box below, because I love to hear these things. But because there was a good amount left, I thought I should try something that's going to take a good amount, and this always goes so much further than I think it's going to. So there, that's what I'm working on. I apologize, I'm sure that the camera angle has changed because I had to look up something for this part and I messed it up, so sorry that it's different, sorry. Anyway, so what I was getting into, oh yeah, so I am sure that all of you are wondering what's going on with the big blankets, and I know no one is, I'm being silly. It's right here. The only thing that I've done to it is I have caked the yarn that's going with it. Oh, and I've made a terrible mess of it. Oh, that puppy, she got into this. I'll just fix it up and you guys can be bored while I'm doing that. Anyway, so it's in here in this basket. This is where I kept it. I have not worked on it. It has been week after week after week of heat warnings here in southern Alberta, which I know for a lot of people, over 30 degrees is nothing. For us, that's actually quite warm. I believe our annual summer average is, I want to say that it's around 24 degrees Celsius, which like, for the most part, like that's very, very reasonable. Like that's like ideal hiking weather is 24. Actually, like 2018 is ideal hiking weather. But I mean, if you have to go on a hot day, that's ideal hot weather. Anyway, it's hotter than that, way hotter. And as I drink my hot drink. So yes, I'm in the middle of a heat wave again. And like my computer actually like says this. It goes heat wave. It doesn't say it, but it pops up that there's a heat wave coming up. Anyway, heat wave, heat wave, heat wave. I don't want to use that. The other thing that's really difficult for particularly me, I'm not going to speak to all on behalf of all Albertans, but this is something that I'm like. So Alberta does not have a lot of lakes, or I mean, if we do have lakes, they're really, really small. So Canada has been nicknamed the land of a million lakes, and Ontario, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, BC, tons. Actually, there's tons in the Northwest Territories. For some reason, Alberta is this weird little chunk that has nothing. We don't have hardly any lakes. They're all super small. So it's very, very dry here because we just don't have things evaporating. What evaporates is the grass. So we always have brown grass all the time, especially this time of year. And this year, like, oh, it died like that. And where I live, we have a lot of strict watering restrictions, which I am on board for because I feel like green yards are like the weirdest first world things ever. Like cool flex, like you are wasting water. That's my opinion. If you like having a green lawn, that's great. I'm not crapping on people who like to have a green lawn. I'm just saying for me, it seems like a very weird thing that, oh, look how much water, I'm just gonna throw it on the ground. It's not about being environmentally conscious for our family, for our household. If you like green grass and you like watering and stuff, I'm not going to take that away from you. Anyway, because of that, we don't have like atmospheric moisture. And then as a result, it's very dry here. So the reason like I had to move up my setup just a tiny bit was I had to look up what the humidity is today. And you're all going to laugh at this, but I'm dying. Like I am so sweaty, and like I had a fan in this window right here and it was blowing on me, and all it did was like make me hot because it's just blowing moist air on me. So our likelihood of precipitation is less than 1%, which duh. And the humidity is, drumroll please, 23% humidity. I know that in the Texas Panhandle, you guys will get like 95% humidity and it's not actually raining, and I don't even know how you survive that. I am dying at 23%. I feel like here, it's roughly, like, it's in the teens is like our usual. And even then, sometimes I'm like, oh, but yeah, oh man. And there was a time two weeks ago, it was 67% humidity. I was crying. Like, our basement was hot. Everything is damp. Nothing is drying. I just, oh my good Lord, I cannot stand any of it. I don't know how you guys do it that live by the ocean. I really, really don't. Because I was born to live here, 100%. I always joke, like, if it's too humid here, I'm like, we're going to Yuma, because talking about humidity too much. Yuma, Arizona is the next place that I would go because they are the most sunny place in North America, and it's in the desert because it's in Arizona. So that's perfect for me because I don't want humidity and I love the sunshine even in the winter, because Calgary area is the second sunniest place in North America, first sunniest place in Canada. So it could be minus 30 degrees outside and you would be tricked because the sky is blue and it's beautiful and lovely, and we'll be like, oh, perfect. All right, so I know you guys are like bored to tears about my talk about the weather and the humidity and what a horrible baby I am about the whole thing, but yeah. I also like, I've been wearing these to keep the sweat off, but then I also find it's like a toque and it keeps my hair like, it keeps my hair down, but then it makes me hot, so I have to take it off throughout the day and then my hair is all crazy. Anyway, that's that. All right, everybody, I am so glad to be back with some fun things to show you. I feel like I've got into the groove of like doing my work and all of that stuff, and back to school's coming, so I'm sure that's going to be messed up. So I still will be doing every other week for probably the next 2 episodes, and then we should be back to every week. But that's going to depend on the weather. If we have a long autumn, I will still be out doing what I do. Otherwise, I'll be back to every week, but I will let you know for sure. And unfortunately, it's weather dependent, but I will keep you guys updated on what is what with that. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day whenever you're watching this. Great day coming up, whatever. And if you would like to give this a thumbs up, that would be awesome. And you can subscribe along the bottom. And if you'd like, you can hit the bell to get notified of every time that I upload. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll see you next time.